Okay, I want to talk for a second about the value of a hope core mentality. So I made a video about how people are really concerned that when Trump, who is a very old man and obviously very ill health, expires, that we will get JD Vance as our president. Like that's going to happen, y'all. There's no way that Trump is making it through 3+ more years. And people are really worried about that because they know what funds JD Vance, Peter Thiel. They know that JD Vance and the Heritage Foundation, they're like this, closer than JD Vance and his sofa, right? And in that video, I was talking about the reasons that I don't think people should be as scared as they are, because JD Vance is extremely unlikable. He cannot hold the cult of MAGA together. Not only that, but he cannot hold the Republicans together. He does not command, I don't want to say Donald Trump commands respect, but he definitely can wield fear and intimidation in a way that Vance is just not going to do it. And I think that the kind of puppet masters behind the scenes, Russell Vought, Stephen Miller, etc., are pretty scared because they know about this reality. They know that as Donald Trump is declining, the inevitable ascendancy of JD Vance is going to spell real bad news for them. Because Miller and the other folks, Project 2025, they had their power through Donald Trump, right? He was the conduit for them to have power and control. And JD Vance is not going to be the same conduit. He's not going to command the same obedience and loyalty. He cannot inherit the cult. And again, if you want to understand the cultish aspect of MAGA and how cults are passed down, I really encourage you to go watch Knitting Cult Lady because she's an actual expert on cults and I'm not. So she can give you all of the legitimate reasons why JD Vance cannot inherit the cult of MAGA. But anyway, a comment I got on that video was, I think Vance will get impeached not long after he assumes office. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about a hope core mentality. I think there's a difference between forecasting the future where you're like, this is going to happen, right? Donald Trump is going to cancel mail-in voting. There's a huge difference between pretending that you've got a crystal ball and you can accurately predict the future, especially when that future is whatever worst case scenario you have decided to craft in your head, versus like this, like what are the reasons that this might go well? I know that I'm very idealistic and I try to balance very hard my optimism with my pragmatism. And I've done a huge amount of work to deconstruct from not only the pessimism, but the cynicism that I was really raised with and kind of shaped my perspective a lot when I was younger. I understand how harmful that positioning is. It's not good for our mental health and it's not good for helping us achieve the goals that we want. And as I've said many times, it just hands over power to our adversaries. I don't think cynicism is anything but a detriment to resistance against fascism. And honestly, it's just a detriment to anything that you want to accomplish in life. So I don't think this person is saying this will happen. I think this person is saying, what if? Can we just imagine a future in where the things that would be justice, the things that would be good, what if good things come about in the future? We look at the trajectory of human history, right? That arc of history that historians are always talking about, it tends toward justice, it tends towards progress. I don't know that I necessarily frame it that way, especially right now when we're living in a time of tremendous democratic backsliding, right? When we are looking at tremendous suffering around the world, when we are looking at countries, not just the United States, but a number of other countries really regressing, and we're seeing cycles in history repeat themselves. I actually think that we can draw comfort from that, from knowing that there is no regime that lasts forever. There is no attempt at installing a dictatorship that is just forever in the future. And I'm definitely not somebody who thinks, oh, let's manifest it, or thinks that you can speak something into reality, etc. But I know there is quite a bit of neuroscience data out there that the way that you intentionally cultivate your thought life actually has a significant impact on your ability to engage in the work that will bring about the future that you want. It's not that you are manifesting something. It's not that you're putting your intentions out to the universe and the universe just hands you back something. But the way you have discipline around your thoughts, the way that you shape your thoughts, that does drive your actions. I think there's two ways that I approach this, living in this time that we're living in now and still having a tremendous amount of hope for the future. One is kind of that DBT therapy, really simple meditation they have you do. I think this cultivating your thoughts, having discipline around your thoughts, is something that DBT skills really help with. right? So the leaf on the stream meditation is when an intrusive or negative thought comes to the forefront of your brain, you imagine, you visualize plucking that thought and placing it on a leaf in a stream that is flowing by in front of you, right? And so instead of holding that thought in the forefront of your head and just ruminating on it and letting it build and build and build and become the focus of everything about you, right? Instead of centering that thought in your mind, you meditate, you envision plucking that thought off, placing it on the leaf, and letting the stream just carry it away. And that is a form of self-discipline around our thoughts. If a thought comes into our brain, we don't actually have to entertain it. We don't actually have to let it destroy our lives and our mental health. We don't actually have to believe that that thought will become reality. And I do want to acknowledge that depending on your neurotype or your various mental health issues, that meditation is much easier for some people to access than others. And for some folks, it takes a lot more time to build that skill. So I don't want you to feel if you try to do that meditation, you have a really negative thought that comes to the forefront of your brain, like, oh, Donald Trump is going to do a military takeover of every city in the US. If you have a hard time plucking that thought and letting it drift away from you and then allowing the next thought to come to the forefront, if you find that you pluck that thought and it just like pops right back up, it's okay to take time to build that skill. Like, there's nothing wrong with you if that meditation is difficult for you, especially initially. But I've been doing it a lot. I do it a lot with my negative thoughts. I don't really do leaf on a stream. I'm much more, if I get one of these doomery thoughts that overwhelms me, I'm much more like, yeet it. Actually, I think there's that old meme that's like yeet, yeet, parakeet, para-yeet, something like that. My kid used to text it to me a lot back in, 2019, 2020. But it's just this image of somebody throwing a parakeet. Yeah, I think it says para-yeet. I'm not going to go look it up. You can look it up. That's what I envision with my thought. I envision just chucking it out and replacing it with a different thought. A thought maybe like this, like, what if the good thing happens? What if I start really entertaining the positive thoughts about the future? Let me give you one more example real quick. I get asked all the time if I will run for elected office. Usually people say Congress. I like my congresswoman, but also I am woefully ill-equipped to be in Congress. And one of the points I made in that video was I could not sit in a committee hearing with fucking Jim Jordan. Don't get me started on Ohio politicians, but like Lauren Boebert. I said, I can't work with those folks. And someone in my comments said, girlfriend, why are you presuming that those people will be in office in 2026? Why are you framing it as inevitable that Jim Jordan and Lauren Boebert are going to get reelected? And they were like, what if you ran for Congress and you got to work with all of the other progressive people who are running for Congress because they all get elected? And I was like, thank you. Thank you for helping me reframe this situation. Right? What a really good Hope Corps way to look at the situation. It's that, but what if we win? What if we win? What we need right now is that kind of outlook. Imagine the world that we want for ourselves and our children, and then work toward it. Keep that at the forefront of your brain, right? Keep that right in your line of sight. What is the world that you want to build? What is the future that would bring you joy, that would bring justice and prosperity for everybody in America, and then work toward that? So I don't know. I've just seen a lot of folks in my comments lately leave little things like this that remind me that I could do better about kind of envisioning, what if the good thing happens? Because part of asking, like, what if we win? What if the future looks like this? Is then you're able, once you visualize it, to start planning for it. So thank you to the people in my comments who've been correcting me, who've been setting me straight and helping me have a better perspective.